Hello guys, welcome to another tutorial. I'm going to show you how to build a goat farm for your Minecraft worlds. Now, what do I mean by goat farm? I mean the horns. You gotta have the horns. And what do I mean by horns? I mean these. You press them, they make a sound, and you control your friends with them. You can do a whole lot of stuff with them. First off, you're going to need natural blocks that spawn in their environment so that they will choose to ram into them subconsciously. They don't do it consciously. So you can either choose stone, packed ice, logs, yada yada. These are probably the easiest things to get. And you start by choosing a center for your farm. Now, you can put a center wherever you want it to be, but I would recommend a 2x2 center. Next, you can have a boat. Place the boat in the middle, and you want to have two small animals reside in these boats. So you can either choose chickens or pigs, which we will use either one of these. And the reason why we even have this in first place is because baby goats will be able to ram underneath it and stay underneath it, and we do not let that happen. So the next thing you need to do is place more of your naturally spawning blocks. So goats will just ram into here and pass by without any problems now. So the maximum radius that goats will choose to ram a block is 16 blocks away from the naturally spawned block, which is what I have here in this little area. If a goat walks in any part of this circle, it will be able to find those natural blocks and choose to ram them if they wanted to. So in fact, this is the maximum area for this farm to work. This means that you can actually have the farm any bit smaller than this if you want it to be. If you want to make sure that you get the maximum range, you can go out 16 blocks on either side and then start your even circle, right? Here's the deal. It's 17 radius this way, 17 radius this way. So the circle, if you put it into a pixel circle generator, would be a diameter of 34. Now then, before you want to put your goats anywhere near here, you should dig out some of this. Now, this is not that important, but if you really want to make sure you collect all the goat horns that are going to get dropped, you should put some soul sand here. It has a higher chance of not leaving the collection area. A more expensive collection area would feature 4x4 of soul sand with hoppers below. But in order to make this more cheaply, we will be using minecarts and hopper minecarts. Now that you've got your center laid out, you should dig 3 blocks down from where your goats will stand. And this is where you're going to start placing your rail system. So now we have an 8x8 that we can work on here. First, you should select where your system should be collected at. So I'm going to choose this side, right? And on the same side, we'll put where the rail should end. Now for the collection side, we can go over here. And what we want to do is not actually have that block be a block, but a hopper facing into a block to the side. Don't have the hopper pointing downward. It is going to be too fast for the system to read it. But now you can place some blocks that you can send power through. A redstone comparator, a redstone repeater, and a redstone torch. You need the comparator to take out from the hopper, a redstone torch behind that block, and a repeater facing back into it, powering the powered rail on the other end. If you're trying to use a lot of powered rails, make sure that this rail is not connected to this power. Now, if you want to exit and enter this collection system easily, then you can take some time to actually put in some scaffolding. And there we go. And now you can actually place in the chest that you want to collect it with. Now, I recommend a lot of chests and hoppers. Otherwise, you will not be able to collect it all. If you have a ton of goats, they'll just sit there and despawn, which is not great. So I recommend at least 2 double chests of hoppers in order to make sure that it doesn't overflow immediately. And back here, you can refill in the area where you dug out before. For simplicity's sake, I will just tell you how to build the square one. because you can just search up the pixel generator one on your own and follow that, right? So we're basically going 12 blocks from the center, starting with that, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's the other corner, and then we just match up the corners as we get going here. So that's that corner there, and then we could just intersect these lines and we'd have our square. Now what you do is you can use fences if you want to. You can use walls, you can use anything, just something to keep your goats tied in, right? But the most important thing is after you tie them in, right, that you put in a ceiling because they can jump over the fences easily. So I would recommend some kind of slab if you are conscious about saving some resources. But if you're going to do a slab instead of a glass roof or something, make sure you light things up inside. Now that you've got your roof, you can take a pathway away from the scaffolding that you chose for your scaffolding way so that you can get out of the farm without having to, you know, activate and reactivate some fence gates. And this you should also light up. Also, if you don't want Enderman to pick up the blocks under here, if you're building this with natural blocks like dirt, then use a different block for the floor. Also, if you're conscious about this place not getting lit up when there's a thunderstorm, you can place a lightning rod anywhere in the vicinity, at least 5 or 6 blocks away from where you don't want it to strike. So I placed it over here. Now, if you don't have any goats already, you should get some goats. And if you don't have any leads, it's probably best to get some leads. So what you want to do is, if you have goats, you either get them over here by having them float in a boat, you know, and then riding it into the area. And you can do that with at least 2 goats, right? And then once you have your goats in, either with a lead or with a boat, you can always lead the goats out of the boat. You can put them in a corner. Now, the reason for putting them in a corner, if you have a few that you want, like screaming goats, you want to know where they are at all times, right? So now you can get your wheat and feed them, and they will start making children. But yeah, as they start breeding, you'll get a lot of goats in here, and they will continually ram this area. And once you get the goats in, you can place in your hopper minecart there, and it will just go wherever you place the track. If you don't want constant eggs, then only use pigs. Now, what happens when a goat loses all its horns? Well, it's basically useless unless it's a screaming goat. Then you can always keep breeding it to get more screaming goats if you breed it with another screaming goat. So, what I recommend you to do is just take care of the ones that don't have any horns after you breed them, right? Unless you want a lot more goats, this is a good way to cull the population so that you aren't going to lag on your server with tons and tons of goats that just have no horns that were only used for breeding. And that's it. We just kickstarted a new goat population in this area. That's how you make a simple screaming goat farm. If this helped you get the horns you need, you know what to do. Have a good day, good night, good life, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.